The Lighthouse Keeper's Log. There's a lighthouse on the coast of England that the Coast Guard refuses to explain. Every single night at exactly 3 a.m., the light malfunctions. Every single night. For 28 years, they've tried to automate it, replace the keepers, fix the system. Nothing works. But that's not the chilling part. The chilling part is what happens to the ships that get too close on those nights. And today, you're going to learn the truth about what's really keeping that light burning. Sarah needed to disappear. The city had taken everything from her: her relationships, her sense of self, her will to exist in the places that remembered who she used to be. So when she saw the job posting for a lighthouse keeper on Blackrock Point, a remote stretch of the English coast where the Atlantic crashes against stone like it's got something personal to prove, she didn't think twice. 6 months, decent pay, complete solitude. What could go wrong? The lighthouse stood alone on Blackrock Point, ancient and weathered, a gray finger pointing at the sky. Sarah arrived on a cold October morning, the fog so thick she could barely see the spiral stairs leading up into the tower. The previous keeper had left everything in order, tidy, organized, professional. Except for one thing. There was an old logbook on the desk, leather-bound, meticulous, 30 years of entries. At first, Sarah only skimmed it. Routine observations, weather notes, ship sightings, maintenance records. The kind of boring bureaucracy you'd expect from decades of isolation. But 3 weeks in, when the lighthouse started feeling less like an escape and more like a trap, she made the mistake of reading it properly. The entries became increasingly disturbing as she read deeper into the past. October 12th, 1994. The light flickered again. Not a mechanical fault. I checked everything twice. It's something else. It doesn't want to shine. November 3rd, 1994. There's something in the sea. Not a whale. Not a whale. Not a whale. The shape doesn't make sense. Too many angles. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she read on. December 1st, 1994. I counted 17 ships. 17 in one night, all heading toward the rocks. The light was off for exactly 43 minutes. I don't remember turning it off. I don't remember anything between midnight and 12:43 a.m. The handwriting deteriorated after December. The words became frantic, scrawled diagonally across pages, the thoughts fragmenting into terrified declarations. December 15th. It's in the room. December 16th. It's in my head. December 17th. It wants the light. It wants the light off. And then nothing. The final entry was dated December 17th, 1994. If you're reading this, you've already felt it. You know what I mean. Don't turn off the light. Not for anything. Not for anyone who asks. The keeper's name was Michael Ashford. Sarah looked him up that week during her supply run to the mainland. He'd disappeared on December 20th, 1994. His empty boat was found 30 miles offshore. They ruled it a suicide. Lost at sea. That was 28 years ago. Sarah tried not to think about the logbook. She focused on her work, maintaining the light, performing the routine checks, keeping the beam rotating faithfully through the darkness. During daylight, the lighthouse felt normal. Safe. She read books. She made tea. She watched the gulls circle the rocks below. But at night, everything changed. It started small, almost unnoticeable. The sound of water where there should be none. Dripping, trickling, like a leak somewhere in the stone walls. Sarah would search frantically. The lamp room, the storage areas below. She'd find nothing. The sound would stop the moment she started looking, then resume the second she gave up. She told herself it was the wind, the isolation, her mind playing tricks. But then came the knocking. 3 sharp raps on the glass of the lamp room. Her heart would stop. She'd flash her light out into the darkness, seeing nothing but the beam cutting through fog and churning black water. But the knocking would move, now on the eastern window, now on the western. Always 3 raps, always patient. Knock, knock, knock. One night, it knocked on her bedroom window, the bedroom on the 2nd floor, 40 feet above the sea. She sat up in bed, trembling, staring at the glass. There was nothing there, nothing that could possibly knock from the outside. Week 5 changed everything. Sarah was in the lamp room when the lighthouse light went out. Not flickered, went completely dark. One moment, the massive Fresnel lens was rotating, casting its beam across the water in a slow, measured arc. The next moment, absolute darkness. Her hand moved to the control panel before her mind caught up with her body. But she froze. She couldn't move. She couldn't act. Because in the darkness, she heard something. Not the knocking, something else. Breathing, wet and labored, rising up through the spiral stairs, getting closer. Click. The light came back on by itself. Sarah stumbled backward, her eyes burning from the sudden brightness. The lamp room was empty. The stairs were empty. But when she looked down, when she forced herself to look at the rocks below illuminated by the beam, she saw something that made her blood run cold. There was something in the water between the rocks, something vast, something pale, something with too many joints to its limbs. It rose and fell with the waves, but not like anything natural should move. It climbed. By morning, there was nothing, just smooth stone and spray. Sarah reread Michael Ashford's final entries obsessively, and suddenly it all made sense. The thing in the water didn't want to be found, and the lighthouse light, that steady rotating beam that guided ships safely past Blackrock Point, was the only thing keeping it down, keeping it contained, keeping it in the dark where it belonged. The light was a barrier, and the thing in the water understood this perfectly. At 3 a.m. every night, without fail, it would knock. Always at 3 a.m., always asking, because it couldn't turn off the light itself. That would require hands that could operate a switch. Or it would require something else, someone inside the lighthouse, someone who could be convinced, coerced, or simply broken. Sarah realized the truth with a chill that settled into her bones. The knocking wasn't violence. It was negotiation. It was asking. By week 7, Sarah had stopped leaving the lamp room entirely. She moved her bed up there. She ate there. She slept there, never leaving the light for a moment. The knocking stopped, but she could feel it, the presence in the water, turning its attention toward her. Vast, patient, eternally waiting. On moonless nights, when the light's beam was the only illumination for miles, she could see it more clearly. Translucent skin, a body arranged at angles that hurt to look at. Multiple eyes tracking the lighthouse, tracking her. Then came week 10. She was dozing in her cot when she woke to a smell. Salt and something else. Something organic, ancient, profoundly wrong. Standing at the circular window, its face pressed against the glass, was Michael Ashford. Except it wasn't. The shape was right, the size was right, but the angles were wrong. His head tilted too far when he turned toward her. His eyes were completely black. When his mouth opened, it opened too wide. "Let me help," it said in Michael's perfect, preserved voice. "You're tired. You don't have to keep doing this. Just turn off the light. Just for a moment. Just to rest." Sarah screamed. She pulled the fire extinguisher from its mounting. She swung it through the glass, through Michael's face, and he fell, or was pulled, and the sea swallowed him. By morning, the window had repaired itself. The glass had literally grown back. New, perfect, as if the break had never happened. Sarah's mind broke a little that day. She called the mainland. "I need to be extracted," she said. "There's something wrong here." The response chilled her more than anything else had. "Are you having unusual thoughts?" they asked. "Has the solitude been affecting you?" They didn't believe her. They wouldn't send a boat for 3 days. 3 days, 3 nights. She could survive. She had to survive. That first night at 3 a.m., the knocking came again. But this time it came with words. "Sarah," it called through the stone walls themselves. "Sarah, your contract is almost up. You could leave. You could have a life again. Just turn off the light." "No," she whispered. "Your mother misses you." Sarah's voice broke. "My mother is dead." "Is she?" She didn't sleep that night, or the next. By the final night, she was hallucinating, seeing movement in the corners of her vision, hearing voices calling from below. Her father, her ex-husband, people who'd hurt her, all begging her, all asking her to turn off the light. At 2:55 a.m. on the third night, Sarah found herself at the light control panel with no memory of walking there. Her hand was on the switch. She didn't remember deciding to turn it off. That suddenly she was looking at the darkness between her fingers. The switch was down. The light was gone. The darkness that fell was absolute. It was the kind of darkness that prehistoric humans feared before fire existed. It was the kind of darkness that had teeth. And then she heard it. The sound of something breaking the surface of the water. Something enormous. Something that had been waiting. The rescue boat caught her as she plummeted from the lamp room window. They said she must have slipped. An accident. A fall from an unstable building. They saved her life. But Sarah never spoke again. She sits in a care facility now, staring at nothing. Her hands move constantly, as if controlling something. Sometimes, when the sun is setting and the shadows are long, she looks toward the windows and the same words over and over. The light, the light, the light. Epilogue. The truth. The lighthouse still stands on Blackrock Point. A new keeper was assigned after Sarah. He lasted 4 days. The Coast Guard automated the system in 2015, replacing human keepers with electronic sensors and timers. But here's what they don't tell you. The automated light malfunctions regularly. In fact, it turns itself off with remarkable precision. Every night, at exactly 3 a.m. And the ships that pass too close sometimes report seeing impossible things in the water. Shapes that don't make sense. things that move with intent and terrible hunger. The Coast Guard doesn't explain the increase in accidents in those waters. They simply recommend that all vessels give Blackrock Point a wider berth, because some barriers are meant to stay in place. Some things are meant to stay in the dark, and some lights are only kept burning to keep something in, not to guide anyone out. The question isn't whether the Lighthouse Keeper's log is real. The question is, what happens the next time someone decides the light isn't worth keeping on? Dear viewer, if you enjoy stories that stay with you long after they end, make sure you subscribe. There's a lot more coming.